So, you thought only Tom Holland, Andrew Garfield, and Tobey Maguire are the live-action Spider-Man actors? Not really. Starting from Dan Poole, whose desperate attempts to officially become Spider-Man didn't go well. This guy was crazy enough to create a fan film called The Green Goblin's Last Stand, and while it was never released, it took massive balls to swing from an actual building, just to gain some attention. However, with this attempt for the casual audiences back in 1977, the movie was just cheap and kind of meh. The homemade costume, while doing dangerous stunts, felt otherworldly, and even the acting in this film wasn't strong. For me, Poole takes the cake for being the most passionate Spider-Man actor.
The simple answer has always been, I needed the shot.
And while he wasn't ever officially cast, just this one clip is enough to show what kind of a passionate person he was. The love that Dan Poole initially got was mixed, with some people following him like a cult, but others would rather pretend that this version of Spider-Man should never exist. So, when you stack him against some other Spider-Man actors, while the love Poole gets is commendable, the reality was disappointing, making him one of the wild cards on our list for being equally hated and loved. Hirofumi Koga. Back in 1978, a miracle happened. We saw the first Japanese Spider-Man in the form of a TV series. While the series is not that popular, especially now, it still has a decent 6.7 out of 10 rating on IMDb. This was also the first time we saw Spider-Man with a literal machine gun, hunting some bad guys, and it was like watching an anime, which is why it felt so special. For the Japanese fans around the world, the show was decent, and they loved it, but for the international fans, it was just bizarre, with some people online saying that they had never watched something as weird as this one. With such a low-budget TV series, it puts even the Flash TV show to shame. But talking about Koga, he did an amazing job putting on a suit and working as a suit actor, because without him, we wouldn't get the internet memes that we have today. Shinji Todo. By the time we hit the late 1970s, Toei produced its live-action version of the Japanese Spider-Man starring Shinji Todo. But unlike Marvel's original Spider-Man, this version had nothing to do with Peter Parker. It followed the story of Shinji, who played as Takuya Yamashiro, a motorcycle racer who achieves alien powers, fights with monsters, and pilots a robot named Leopardon. Is this Spider-Man or just Power Rangers? I am quite confused. But honestly, having Spider-Man and mecha concepts back in the past is cool when Peter didn't even meet Iron Man, right? Anyways, since the dawn of this series, Western fans have not shown any interest in Shinji, and the show was mostly a very stripped-down version of the original Spider-Man, making it a large flop, which is why we never heard from Japan and Spider-Man ever since. Nicholas Hammond. Before Tobey Maguire shot huge webs over his Spideyverse, Nicholas Hammond became the first official live-action Spider-Man in 1977 in the Amazing Spider-Man TV series. Hammond was quite popular back in the day since, for many kids, he was the only live-action Spider-Man they had. The issue, though, was, as always, the production. The show had clunky effects, poor action, and the scripts were more focused on police drama. Now, don't get me wrong, Hammond is a legendary name to this date, but when we look at the fans' opinion, they have a lot to say about him. So, some fans think that Hammond's TV show was incredibly boring, and he played more of a bland character with poor acting skills. And of course, don't get too happy with the action because you're not going to see some amazing choreography or CGI back in the 70s. Rather, thanks to this show and a lot of criticism, we got to see Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, both of whom have been amazing Spider-Man actors. What do you think about Hammond? I bet you didn't even hear his name before. Tobey Maguire. When we talk about having mixed feelings, Tobey Maguire is one of the awkward guys on our list. You see, his name always pops up first whenever we think of Spider-Man due to the 2002 debut movie that kicked off the golden age of superheroes and villains. Instantly, Maguire gained a massive fan following, but here's the truth. He's also one of the most hated Spider-Man actors, especially because of his very schizo-like behaviors outside the Spider-Man universe into his private life.
Out of the way! I can't see! There are cars there, mother...
Now, I am going to be honest. That crash out was probably very much fair, but think about this. When all the young fans look at Maguire, who is always angry at people in public, how would they feel? Well, definitely, Maguire isn't so Spider-Man-like, but he's just a regular human with anger issues. But now, let's move on to some facts. You see, Spider-Man 2 is not only my favorite film of the franchise, but it is probably the best Spider-Man movie in general. On top of that, we saw a portrayal of real-life struggles from Maguire, like Peter struggling to pay his bills, getting so much shit for just doing his job as a reporter, while also trying to make his relationship work. but seeing his girl cheating on him. Damn, that's rough. But then, there comes Spider-Man 3, which wasn't as good as the first two movies, and a lot of fans blame Maguire for the mess. How? Well, for starters, Peter was quite emo in this movie, yet Tobey did his best to pull it off. However, when there are way too many villains and the movie is all over the place, even a good actor cannot pull it off. To be honest, I don't think anyone would be able to pull it off like Tobey did, making him one of the most loved and hated Spider-Man actors, which is mainly why he's at this spot on our list. Acting-wise, Tobey is perfect. But personality-wise and including his real-life scandals, he's pretty forgettable by the fans. Tom Holland.
That was amazing.
That was great.
Oh, that was so cool. I was so nervous.
I'm sorry.
Tom Holland receives a lot of criticism in the world of Spider-Man movies. You see, Tom's portrayal as Peter Parker has always been a controversial one, mainly because his character has lacked depth like Maguire's Spider-Man, especially because he never really gets the chance to grow in his movies. In most of Holland's version of Spider-Man, it's like he's a confused teenager who never really got the chance to fully grow, even when you look from movie to movie. The original Maguire fans think of Tom's version as cartoonish. Couple it up with some modern-day Gen Z humor and boom, you have lost half your fan base, sir. I personally feel like Holland is a good actor, but the movie director might have ruined Spider-Man for hundreds of thousands of fans. On the flip side, millions of fans all over the world love him for his boyish charm. Moreover, in various movies, Tom's interaction with characters like Iron Man, Doctor Strange, and the whole Avengers franchise is something that the previous Spider-Man never had. So, is this a good thing for a bad one? Trying out new things is good, but a lot of people complain that this version of Spider-Man was highly dependent on Tony Stark's technology, and the constant Marvel humor undercut Peter's emotional weight, making Tom Holland's version of Spider-Man a controversial one. Still, his popularity is undeniable, but many think that his character could have been handled better by the directors. Andrew Garfield.
You don't have me on your computer.
Yeah, I mean, like, I took a photo of the debate team, and you're in the debate team.
Let's talk about Andrew Garfield. Personally, this one is the hardest for me to portray because his role is tricky. You see, he gets everything right, and the majority of fans agree. But some things that don't make sense are how gorgeous he is, and when you couple it up with his tall height and jacked body, do I even need to say more? Well, I actually do. While comically accurate Spider-Man was more of a pushover, Andrew here is portrayed as a fine shit with someone who is popular with the ladies, cocky, and definitely not someone who can be bullied. But with all of these things said, he still does everything right, especially in his first movie. Moving away from Peter Parker and going towards the Spider-Man role, there it is. The most accurate comic book Spider-Man held in that costume, looking all jacked, cool, and handsome AF. While watching Garfield doing his thing, it feels like you're watching the comic book Spider-Man come to life. Remember that one scene when he's crawling all around the lizard while webbing him in an instant? That's a Spider-Man we all love to watch and would love to see in the future, too. Fans are forever fans of Garfield because of such a unique setting. You see, he acts like a loser, but in real life, he is quite a cool guy. However, one thing we didn't even discuss till now is how strong the action is in Garfield's Spider-Man movies. From the way he moves throughout the films to the web swinging, I think we might have downgraded with time, because we're never getting that level of smoothness ever again. Even Tom Holland, who came after Andrew Garfield and his team, weren't able to pull off these beautiful stunts. Other than him being a jacked and handsome Spider-Man, Andrew Garfield is also the most qualified out of the three main Spider-Men because he has won the most awards and has worked in a diverse set of roles other than the superhero ones. When we combine the acting, the movie itself, and the qualifying factors, I personally think that Andrew Garfield is the best character out of all the Spider-Dudes we've seen in the history of the franchise. But yeah, guys, that is the ranking for the most hated and most loved Spider-Man actors. Now, I want you guys to start commenting on which Spider-Man you think is the best and the worst. And as always, if you want more comparison videos like these, subscribe to our channel and ring the bell icon for more.